Alrighty, so today I'm going to be demonstrating how to make what's called Kusari Nawa. This is, well, literally means chain rope. And it's essentially a rope or a chain made up of a series of slip knots. It looks quite nice. Overall, it's very aesthetically pleasing. Practical purpose for it, not a heck of a lot. Okay, so I'll just get to it. So, make a slip knot. That standard slip knot. But what we're going to do now is pull the length of the rope through the slip knot. Boom. Right? And that's pretty much all you do. You repeat the pattern over and over. Until you're out of rope, or it's served its purpose. It makes a nice little pattern as such. Boom. You're basically having the slip knot tied to itself over and over and over. When the rope's folded like this, then it can look really, really nice. Of course, it's a tie designed for aesthetics, so if there's an error, then you can just correct it on the fly. I had one here that I didn't catch early enough, so too bad for it. But yeah, that's how you do it. Slip knot, over, slip knot, over, slip knot. Boom, 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 boom. Well, it's very nice. We'll do the full length, why not? Boom. When I first started this, it was on quite a lot of rope, and it would take forever to do. I think it was on like 40 feet of rope. And it wasn't doubled over like this. It was just a single rope, which, well, it's twice the amount of length, so twice the amount of work. Boom, boom, boom. Boom. When you want to tie it off, you pull the length right through. Voila. And now, you've got Kusari Nawa. It's a chain rope. Or a rope chain, rather. And this is shown quite a bit in a tradition called Itatsuru. Itatsuru Hojo Jutsu, or Torinawa Jutsu. And they use it after an individual is bound. They'll have quite a bit of rope left over. And so they'll just make this chain because, and I don't fully understand their thinking behind it, but when it's not pulled through, because it's slip knots, you can pull it right apart. Voila. So, how they do it, they don't fold over the rope like that, because if I understand correctly, they create a slip knot. It's called hebiguchi, or jaguchi, means snake's mouth, viper's mouth, which is just a slip knot. And so what they'll do is they'll have the individual's neck, they'll pull the slip knot around and through, right through the slip knot. Boom, boom, boom. We're dealing with 20 feet of rope here, so it's going to take a sec. There we go. Boom. Pull the knot firmly. Right. Two. There you go. So the individual tries to get away, they strangle themselves. And then they go on with the tying and whatnot, and they go on from there. Right? When, I'll do a quick one. Shoo, shoo. speed of rope. Sometimes it feels way more. Right? So you tie it off, boom, and then, so they'll have a crap ton of rope left over. So you make a series of slipknots. Voila. Slipknot. And you pull through. Now you don't want to have too much of this this live edge sticking out, because you just end up wasting a lot of energy stretching yourself out, messing with a lot of rope you don't need to be doing. Right? Yeah. Boom. Boom. So they'll do all this. Now, they don't usually use Nawa. They usually use like conventional cotton rope. To me, it looks like dollar store stuff. And that's at a glance. That's not like, oh, those guys just use dollar store stuff. I use big, expensive $30 rope. No. It's not like that. I haven't dealt with them. I also don't practice, work with, or study their sister tradition, Musoru, specializes in Jojutsu and Jujutsu. Something that reminds me of Asiyame Chiden Ryu. Right? So they'll tie it off like that, and they'll have a big long length. Obviously not with this little gap here that's kind of a weak spot. This length, and in their demonstrations they'll have the arrestee, the culprit, or whatever, the individual tied up. They'll have him run away for whatever reason, and they'll let the rope slip until it gets to the end, when it usually knocks them on their ass. Don't understand the purpose of that demonstration, but that's that. It is what it is, I guess. So, that's a little bit of the application. In practices like Kimbaku, for example, where you've got a rigger and a model doing a performance in front of a live audience, this type of Kusari Nawa can look very nice as a finish at the end of a length of rope. On top of that, it gives something for a second length of rope to be tied to. Whereas it's common practice just to put an overhand knot, kind of like that. It's not quite an overhand knot. It's common practice just to put an overhand knot. I do so many slip knots. Overhand knot, and then the next rope there we go. Next rope will tie off just the same, and they'll extend the rope like that. I personally don't like that. On top of that, I have whipping. I whip the ends of my rope. I quite like that. Very aesthetically pleasing, especially when it's just sitting there. And yeah. So that's Kusari Nawa. There's well, not a lot of super practical application to that. I'll show one more little trick I quite like. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, so I usually oil my ropes, so this is a little bit less than nice in my opinion. Boom. I'm going to do this perfect because I'm doing this up for another purpose. Now you can make it really tight and you can make it really loose. If it's really tight, then when you do the slipknot effect at the end to untie it all or unravel it all, then it can be a little bit tighter, and especially at the bottom here you usually catch. And then you'll just be standing there with a little wee knot in your hand and be like, oh, well that didn't go as fluently as I thought. Boom, boom. I'll just pull that through. Alright, so we got, out of 28 feet, we've got maybe 3 feet of rope. It's a good way to kill off a lot of rope. I do it on some of my book bindings and whatnot too, or the little flap that ties the book shut, notebook shut, and sometimes I find I have to add extra rope because it goes from, oh, I don't know, 1.5 feet to down to a couple inches. It won't make it around the book anymore. Alright, so Kusari Nawa, and then you can actually do it to itself. Although this is quite tough with hemp. Yeah. Won't be able to do that much with this, but you can tie it to itself. When you have extra long lengths of rope, just tie it to itself over and over, and it looks really, really complicated when in fact it's just a series of slip knots, which most people that wrestle around with rope often, they know they're slip knots. This would probably be easier to do with the single length of rope as opposed to the fold. I was hoping for the fold because I figured 38 feet, that would be plenty of room. Not so much. See what I meant there? With the initial slip knot, if it's really tight, then it'll catch as you're pulling and just like stop there. There we go. And then we go. It's looking really terrible, actually. It's the type of thing that if you really take the time, go slowly and touch it up at each link, the thing looks beautiful. You rush it, well, unless you're quite good, which, I mean, I'm not, then it has a tendency of knotting up in funny ways. It's not too terrible. Also, I've taken pictures before where you've got the individual tied up, and you angle the camera to look like that. Oh, it's good, especially with proper filters. Need to be recording all this nonsense. I should just have rope prepared for the video, but I'm kind of casual that way. But as you can see, when it's folded over, 28 feet of rope, in other words 14 feet of rope, is quite a bit quicker to deal with. This can take roughly twice the amount of time. I say roughly because some people can handle thinner rope better than thicker rope, and therefore they might be quicker, even though they're dealing with twice the amount of rope. Or at least it'll be disproportionate to just doubling the time. Alright. Oops. Pull that through. Just cut it short. There you go. There we go. One. I haven't done this one too much because it's kind of a pain in the butt, and many riggers find that they just don't have enough rope. Alright, that's not the best demonstration, but actually that's a terrible demonstration. That's essentially, you can see the pattern a little bit. And I find when you're doubling up the rope like this, when you're using two Kusari Nawa to make one bigger Kusari Nawa, it'll actually spiral. It's kind of cool. You can see it a little bit here. Alright. And of course it's noticeably trickier to just pull the whole thing through when you've got that much rope binding with itself. And the signature move of this little design, Kusari Nawa, oops, which I set up to fail. Pulled it through the wrong way. And it'll likely bind. See, there's that bind. I tied the first knot too tight. Alright, so that's Kusari Nawa. I can't think of what else to say. Probably said enough. And voila.